Hello and welcome to our web chat today. I'm so excited. I'm Nicola Bond from Heart and I'm joined today by the lovely Pixiwoo, Sam and Nick.
Hello.
Nick, who is very pregnant.
Very pregnant.
You all right?
I'm fine.
The baby's going to not come...
She's staying in for a little while.
Good.
Well, anytime. We hope. Fingers crossed.
Well, hopefully, because we've got lots and lots of beauty tips to give you, and we're going to give you loads of advice about how to really look good and feel good, and also, and with the change in seasons coming up, kind of how to have good skin in the winter, and then as we go into spring, we're going to discuss that as well. Now, this is a live web chat. We've got lots of your questions that you've already sent in, but also, if you want to send any in during the web chat, you can just see there's a little comment box on the screen, and just send them in, and we'll answer as many as we can. We are also I'm going to do some extra films at the end so that any questions that don't get answered, hopefully you'll have that as well. Now, last time we were chatting, it was all about the No7 foundation match made service, wasn't it? Which I think my skin colour has changed since we last spoke.
Yeah, definitely mine has. I got matched again and I've gone down quite a few shades actually. I'm now, what was I before?
You were the same as me, weren't you?
Yeah,
soft
rose, and now I am cool ivory, so I've gone down quite a lot.
Have you as well?
Happens.
I was soft rose and I'm now cool beige, which you'd think would be darker, but actually I was pinker before, so it kind of makes sense.
So what happens? Is it just literally that we've got a suntan in the summer and then...
Yeah, I mean, it is that, but also your skin changes, you know, because of central heating and because of the wind outside and whatnot. So you might change your colour foundation, but you might also need to change the texture of the foundation that you use. So sometimes in the summer, if you get shiny, you might want a matte foundation. And in the winter, you might want a radiance boosting foundation.
Okay. Remind me how it works, the foundation match made. This is the little machine, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a little device that you go into store and a consultant pops that on either side of your jaw.
And it matches you up.
Yeah, and it matches you.
It also matches you to the colour lighter or the colour darker, so you can choose which one works best for you. So it's quite clever.
It's brilliant.
Yeah,
Lots
but of course, obviously, at this time of year, if you got it done in the summer, you'll have to go back and do it again because you will have changed, more than likely.
I think we should jump into the questions. We've had so many questions. So I think we're going to start with the whole winter skin thing. Obviously, it's freezing outside, then you go into a building and it's boiling, you've got dry skin, and the wet weather's no good as well. And also, as you said, your skin tone can change, can't it?
Yeah.
So let's start with the basics of foundation. And the first question is, how do you choose your foundation shade to match your skin, which we've kind of discussed?
Yeah, you really want to be, I mean, if you're going into a store, you can obviously go into No7 and get this done. Or if you're not going to do that, you really want to be looking to match to the jaw or the neck.
It's quite complicated actually, because sometimes you can get quite a red chest and then a very pale neck. And then if you match to your chest, then you're going to get a very red face as well, you know, because you're trying to match them. So it's a case of working out where you want to match to. I would say normally match to the neck so you've not got a line.
So in fact, actually put foundation...
You can take it down onto the neck. If you want to match to your chest, you can take it down onto the neck. You know, there's no rules for it.
I think, you know, sometimes there's tricky situations, like if you have a very pale neck, but you have high colour in your chest and high colour in your face, and in that case, you're not going to want to match everything to your neck because you're going to look suddenly very, very washed out.
And you'll feel washed out as well, which is even worse. In those cases,
you're going to go somewhere in between. And then you will be taking it down onto the neck, or a bronzer down onto the neck.
Yeah, that's always a good tip. So the seasons are changing. Do you need to use a different shade in winter to what you use in summer? Is what we have actually kind of covered that, but
not everyone does, but most people do. You know, and also in the summer, I like to give my skin a little bit more glow. You know, I may put a little bit of tan on, so I'm going to want to change to match whatever colour I am. And I think in the summer you maybe want to go a little bit lighter with your foundation as well, so you look radiant and glowing. And then I tend to go a little bit darker because my skin will look a little bit healthier as well.
Definitely, but also not to forget, we don't just go suddenly from being very pale to being very, very tan over one day. So what I think is always a good idea is if you have your lighter foundation for the winter and you have your darker one for the summer, then you always got those two to mix as you change gradually. That makes sense.
That's a great idea.
Well, we try to in the UK in one day.
Yeah.
we try to, but then we go red.
So everyone goes from white to red. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so true. Right, so we've got loads of people asking about how to know what type of foundation to use. So especially if you've got dry, oily or combination skin. How do you choose? Where do you start?
Well, I mean, for us, it's very simple because obviously we're trained makeup artists. But if you are struggling, then go to a counter, go and ask someone. They will know. No7, I think, do maybe 8 different textures of foundation. So there's definitely something there for everyone. So if you are worried about it and you don't know, go and ask.
Yeah. What do you use?
We've
Kind of
both
what
got
type
quite
of-
dry skin,
Yeah.
so we'll use something that's illuminating. So
Yeah, I like radiance boosting foundations, but my skin is horrific at the moment just because it's just so dry. So
central heating.
yeah, lots and lots of moisturiser.
Yes. Whereas I find I get more oily in the winter. Why is that? It's really odd.
Are you trying to do something to combat it? Because sometimes the oils will produce more if you're
Yes.
trying to stop it or something. Do you know what I mean? It can produce more. So you might be trying different products or...
Yeah, these are not my questions though. I've got so many. I'm very naughty. I'm taking advantage of Pixiwoo here. Right, Sarah has been in touch and she's asked, when you put foundation on, what is the best preparation? So moisturise and then primer, or is that not necessary? Because it's that whole overloading thing, isn't it?
Depends
what
on
you
your
need.
skin. Sisters. It really depends on your skin. If you get very oily, you may want to use a primer or a pore minimizer primer and then put your oil control foundation on or something along those lines. If you're dry, you're probably just going to want to moisturise. I don't use a primer. I only need to moisturise because a primer actually makes my skin a little bit drier sometimes.
Okay.
So I will just use a radiant foundation. So it really depends on your skin
Yeah, I
and what
think
you're trying to achieve.
There's a whole set of rules which have kind of been made but don't really exist in a way, that you have to moisturise and then you have to prime and then you have to put a foundation on and then you have to put a powder over the top. You do whatever is
Works
right
for
for your
you.
skin. You don't have to follow those rules just because the beauty company says that you should. It's got to be what works for you. I know for me, serums don't work, for example.
Because some people I know apply kind of a serum and then they apply moisturiser, then a primer. And when I do that, it just looks so overloaded.
Definitely. So it's not for everyone,
No,
that's for sure.
exactly.
But for some people, so
Yeah.
it depends.
So again, go and speak to a consultant and they'll hopefully be able to help you. If you're unsure, that's the best advice, is to go and speak to someone else and even chat with your mates about it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Rather than being like, I just don't know. Have a little conversation about it and everyone will be able to help and put in their
Yeah.
2 pence piece and tell you what.
Are there any primers that are good for drier skin that you know of?
Laura Mercier do a really good one for dry skin.
Yeah, I like the Urban Decay one. It's
Okay.
really good for dry skin. But then I'm not much of a primer wearer, so
That would be, if I was to wear it, it would just be for my wedding day. To
Okay.
keep it
Yeah.
in place. I prefer not to, but if I know it's a big occasion, then that's the only time I've worn a primer.
Yeah.
This is funny because I use it every day just because I think I should. So that's really interesting.
Yeah.
That actually it's not something you have to do. Just
you don't
if it
have to. I
works
mean,
for
I think
you.
if you find that you get shiny, then it definitely does make a difference. And if you have pores that you want to minimise, then yeah, it does work for that. But if you don't have any of those concerns, then it might be a step you can skip.
Okay, brilliant. Right. So we've got a question. Oh, loads of people have asked us. This is from Mary and Sally and Kate and many more. That was the cameraman for you. Do you know why he's so excited about his information about primer? That he's you're right. All these girls have said, what about the actual application of foundation? What's best to use? I suppose, there are so many options, aren't there? Sponges, brushes.
Yeah,
Everyone is different. Sam puts it on with her fingers, with her hands. She occasionally use the brush. She'll use a brush on other people.
I used a brush today actually, but most of the time I use my hands. It depends on the condition of my skin. Actually, if my skin's in really good condition, then I do it with my hands because I want a much lighter coverage. At the moment, I'll use a brush because I want a heavier coverage. And definitely, the different type of brush you use can make a difference to the coverage you get. So if you use a normal shaped flat brush, you'll get a heavier coverage than if you use something like a buffing brush where you're really working the foundation into the skin.
What's a buffing brush again?
It's the flat topped one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I always use a buffing brush on myself purely because of the finish that I want to get. And I very rarely use my hands on myself. I might use my hands on other people if I'm doing makeup, but on myself, because I'm so messy with makeup and I'm quite often wear dark clothes and then I'll wipe it on my clothes or something. I'm just so messy. I tend to use a brush just for the easiness of it, but I don't very often use a sponge, very rarely.
I was going to say, it's quite old-fashioned, isn't it? I remember, like, my grandma always had a sponge that she'd, like, put her makeup on with.
They've kind of made comeback sponges.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, in a slightly different shape and a different material. But the thing with sponges is obviously you've got to clean them regularly.
What with?
Shampoo
them,
or some kind of antibacterial soap. Definitely got to have some antibacterial in there.
I forget to do that. I really do.
But I do actually prefer a sponge for a powder foundation rather than a puff, something. I prefer
so,
a sponge.
like, for example, I think Max Studio Fix always comes with a sponge. Is that sponge a good one?
It is, but you have to be careful because, again, it comes back to if you've got oily skin, a sponge will pick up the oil in your skin and then it will transfer onto the top layer of your product. So I've got one here. So say you're using it like that constantly, this will seal over. It will get slightly shiny, so you can see, oh, something's wrong with my powder. And you have to scratch off the top. It's where the oil has kind of set, so it seals your product over.
But most companies, you can buy a new sponge. So
I never knew that. Can I just completely go off subject? I want to hear your tooth whitening tip. So, you don't have to answer that, but I'm so excited about it. We were just chatting before, and Sam's got this amazing tip.
The inside of banana peel actually whitens your teeth because of the potassium in it. And I got this verified with my dentist, but she did say you've got to brush your teeth afterwards because the natural sugars in the banana skin can damage your teeth if you did it long term. But yeah, it does work.
But you don't like bananas, so I have to eat the banana and she cleans her teeth.
Right, from bananas back to skincare. Now, this is something so many people have asked. Because it's winter, a common problem is obviously the fact our skin is a lot drier. And Penny's been in touch. She says her skin is very dry in winter, and even though she's moisturising before applying foundation, she's still got dry patches, and they're causing the foundation to be quite flaky. So because it's that situation, is it, when you've kind of done your foundation, you're all flaky, what do you do?
I think the thing is, people with dry skin sometimes forget to exfoliate as well. Don't have to do it very often, and don't use a really vigorous exfoliator, but every so often exfoliate your skin. Then when you put your moisturiser on, it's not just going to dry that dry skin, it's going to keep that dry skin so it looks lovely for 5 minutes, and then when it dries they're just going to pop back up. So you need to make sure you're exfoliating once a week, especially if you're finding that it's still occurring. Don't over exfoliate as well though.
When it comes to exfoliator, because I've read loads of different things about this, is it best to use one with grains in it, or is it best just to use one, you can just get ones that are like lotions but have chemicals in them? I don't know what to use.
It depends on your skin type again.
Okay.
Like I tend to use the ones with the grains in because I've got drier skin, and I'm not so keen on the ones, the kind of peptidey ones.
And I'll just use a really light mitt.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I actually prefer that than changing products. I just use a really, really light mitt.
With nothing on it?
Normally with just water, personally, because that's what works for me, and then I keep my same regime as I was doing before.
But I also use, there's a little tiny pot of, I forget the name of it, it's a balm from Ombre Elise, and it's really brilliant for if you're getting dry patches, you just pop that on. You can put it over your foundation, just dab it on, and gradually it's just going to improve that.
Excellent. So those kind of little patches that come up, you can deal with there and then. Brilliant. Amy has been in touch. Now, we've kind of covered this, but because it's a very popular question. So when you apply foundation, do you finish at the jaw or do you blend down the throat?
Depends on whether you need to take it down further. I mean, if you have that white neck, red face thing, then you probably would want to take it down or blend a little bit of bronzer down there, I would say. Otherwise, I would stop at the jaw.
Okay. But as you said, you can use a bronzer and you can use other things just to make it look even.
Yeah.
Brilliant.